Welcome back. What is this, MMA calculator?
I think it did Attic MMA.
Oh, MMA Attic. Get in our attic. Welcome back. It's time for what is easily the biggest fight card of the year, UFC 300. We have a ton of great fights, and the machine learning model has found value in almost all of them. We're going to kick it off at the very bottom of the card with Figgy versus Cody Garbrandt. Our book odds are sitting at negative 300 for Figgy with a comeback of plus 250 for Garbrandt. The model calculated odds of 161 for Figgy with Garbrandt as the favorite at minus 161. Because of this evaluation, we are seeing a massive amount of expected value, and this one obviously deserved a bet on Garbrandt. Next up, we have Jim Miller versus Bobby Green. The book was offering Miller at plus 155 and Bobby at minus 180. Our odds showed this fight very close to a pick'em with plus 108 versus a minus 108. Even though Jim Miller is an underdog in both cases, our EV on Jim is looking good at 22%. That is certainly enough value for a wager. For the first women's fight of the night, we have a Battle of Brazil. Jessica Andrade will be taking on Marina Rodriguez. Bookies are showing this fight almost exactly as we are. Negative 139 for Jessica and a plus 119 for Marina. On our end, we generated odds of minus 135 and plus 135, which provides no value on either side. Rounding out the early prelims, we've got Jalen Turner showing minus 230 at the books, with Money Moicano coming back at plus 195. The model is giving us much closer odds here, offering good value on Moicano. We did lay a bet here hoping that Moicano lives up to his nickname. Kicking off the prelims with Diego Lopez versus Sadiq Youssef. Our odds are not showing this fight to be as close as the books have it. This is offering us a very small EV on Diego. Maybe not even enough to justify a wager. But this is a big event, and we are fight fans first, so we couldn't help ourselves, and we dropped a bet on Diego. Up next is the debut of Kayla Harrison against Holly Holm. Kayla is coming in as a pretty big favorite on the books at a minus 440, and that is reflected pretty well in the odds generated by our model. We did show a tiny EV on the comeback for Holly at plus 340. Do we recommend this bet? Of course not. But in the name of science, we dropped 1 unit on Holly. For the next performance, we will get to see if Aljo's acting skills came with him on the move to 145. He is a notable favorite against Calvin Kattar on the books, while our model is showing Calvin with a better chance of winning. This gives us an expected value that is right in line with our current average, making this an easy wager to place on Calvin. The last fight on the prelims will be Yuri Prohaska versus Alexander Raychik after a significant time away. The book odds for this one are a pick'em at minus 105, minus 115. We are seeing a slightly different story on our end at minus 137 for Yuri. This left us plenty of room to bet with a 13% positive EV. Starting off the main card is a man too good for the prelims, but still only fights prelim level opponents. Bo Nickel versus Cody Brundage. Bo is showing an absolute massive favorite here at minus 2,300. At this time, our model can't even generate odds at this extreme, but what it sped out was also surprising. Bo coming in as a minus 166 favorite, not even as favored as Kayla Harrison. Looking over the data, we noticed a few things that could have led to this. First and foremost, we don't have much data for Bo. With only 5 professional fights and very little fight time compared to Cody, the model doesn't have much to work with. Cody's takedown defense is also 73% versus Bo's takedown accuracy of only 50%. Regardless, the strategy is to bet what the model says, and with an outrageous EV of 351%, its message is very clear. So we placed a bet on Cody at plus 1,100 and potentially made our average EV impossible to catch for years to come. When the main card really gets started, it'll be with Arman Sarukian versus Charlie Olives. We were surprised to see that Arman was such a heavy favorite here, and the model agreed. Charles is still an underdog, but at plus 143, it is a much closer fight according to the model. With an EV of 0.13, we went ahead and laid a bet. Next, we're getting into the people's main event, Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethje. Gaethje coming in as a minus 156 favorite, but our model has those odds more than flipped. For some reason, it believes that Max should be a sizable favorite here with an impressive EV. I'm not sure I can agree with that, but the model makes the rules. We were rooting for Max anyways. Now we have money on the line. Our first real title fight of the night is going to be Yan Xiaonan versus Weili Zhang. Weili is quite the favorite with a minus 510 at the books. Meanwhile, we spit out a pick'em, only minus 105 for Weili. This returns an enormous EV of 137% on Yan, which requires a bet. Last but not least, we get to the main event between Alex Pereira and Jamal Hill. The book has this fight pretty close, Jamal only being a small underdog at plus 110. Our odds also have this as a close fight, but with Jamal being the slight favorite. At minus 122, we get a very reasonable EV of 16%, which is enough to throw a bet at. All in all, we ended up betting 12 out of 13 fights for 12.49 units. We took any position that showed a positive EV, even if it was barely positive or unrealistically high. 2 of our bets were on favorites, the other 10, underdogs. Because most of the bets fell on underdogs, our return could be as much as 44.42 units, leaving us with a potential upside of 31.93 units. Our expected return, based on our average EV to date, is around 4.25 units. Expected return based on the average EV of our bets this weekend is 8.14 units. Thanks for checking out our video. This betting strategy we're using is expected value. We are not necessarily picking winners. We are looking at the book odds, comparing that to what our model spits out, and taking the value based on that. This is a long-term betting strategy. We have up weeks and down weeks, but at the end of the year, we want to see an increased bankroll. We'll be back next week with the results of UFC 300. Also, preparing for UFC Vegas Fight Night 91. Like and subscribe. We'll catch you guys on the next one.